Hey guys, so we're live. We're gonna give it a few seconds to have some persons tune in to join the discussion. Um, join the discussion. Okay, so yes. So for the persons tuned in, we want to welcome you to our discussion today. As I mentioned on Tuesday, that this week we will be having a few programs dedicated to Isaiah Henry, Joel Henry, and now Harish Singh. Um, it is with pain in our hearts that we have to be here today to discuss these incidents and the circumstances surrounding our discussion today is very unfortunate for both the victims and their families and the community and Guyana by extension. Today I have with me three new faces on the program and I will just have them shortly introduce themselves. Start with you, Randy.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Randy Midri. I am the CEO of the Randy Midri brand, and over some time, I think some of you would have noticed that I've been a part of ChildLinK Guyana, um, volunteering and advocating best I could for the protection of our young people and our women and our and society as a whole. And I'm very heartbroken to have to be sitting here today. And this being the forum or the discussion that I'm going to be a part of.
Ms. King, would you like to go?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Leota King. I'm a youth advocate in different spheres. One of the keynote things that I've been involved in is a social and educational program at Sophia Juvenile Detention Center, where myself and a few others work with the youths there to help them to, reintegrate into the society, help them to build social skills, and be a better young man within our society. I'm involved in youth work in various spheres in my church with different NGOs. I'm a part of the Global Shapers community. And I also work with the Community Family and Youth Resilience Program in Guyana. Thank you.
Good afternoon,
Okay,
everyone.
thank
I am
you for
Denelli
that.
Hawk. I'm an
Ms.
attorney at
Hall.
law. I'm sorry. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Denelli Hawk. I'm an attorney at law with 14 years experience and formerly attorney for ChildLinK as well. I am really saddened by the recent events in our country with the death of the three boys, the Henry boys, and now Harish. And so I think I really applaud this initiative because I think that we need to have sensible conversations and we need to get out there and we need to be sowing seeds of unity and not discord. So I am excited to be a part of this conversation today.
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Hawk, Randy, and Ms. King. Today this conversation aimed to really highlight how two things: how it is that we can do more as a community to protect our boys, and how at a national or a community level, can we appeal for calm? Can we appeal for peace? What are we not doing, and what have we done? And whether it has worked or not. All right. So without further ado, I want to encourage persons to share this live. This is a conversation that we must have as hard as it is to have because we had one casualty on Sunday night, two casualties rather, and then another one went yesterday with Mr. Singh. And these are all children who are suffering the consequences of the actions of mostly adults. Okay, so we want to get started. So I'm going to ask you guys, it has been 4 days and 1 day for Harish, with 4 days since the incident with the Henry boys. What do you guys think of it, and how are you guys feeling about it? Randy, I'll start with you. Only me.
Okay, so I've been since the discovery of the bodies of the Henry boys. I've been following pretty much every detail because they are related to one of my friends, and it was really heartbreaking to see what has happened and the way it has happened. And um, I think over the past 4 days, and with the death of Harish Singh yesterday, personally, I felt like the entire country has a darkness, a heaviness, a burden that we have to carry because of the actions of others. And I feel that burden is comes as a responsibility to ensure that our young men are protected. We weren't able to do those for these three young men, but they should not die in vain. We need to ensure that justice is served, and through this time, it is very important that we understand what is happening and see it for what it is without any convenience biases, and ensure that we play our part as society. And that's how I feel personally. I feel that we have to stand up for what is right for young people, and now is it's needed more than ever.
All
Yes.
right. So for me, yes, for me,
Yes.
I feel very saddened by the entire situation. Because as a young person, I would want to, live a full life and enjoy life to the fullest. And I know in the cases of these three young men, they aren't afforded that opportunity because, their life has been gone. But I think overall, I feel a sense of disappointment that our community, our leaders, those that are supposed to be there to protect us are not doing so, especially our young men, because whether or not they were in the wrong, whether or not they were doing something that we do not feel is the right thing, whether they were going on the straight and narrow way, they were not supported. I believe that the community could have done more to support them. If we felt that they needed that guidance, we should have been the one. Someone in the community, someone out there should have heard them or helped them along the way. And I feel very disappointed that this is the society that we have at this time, that we cannot, help our young people along the way and lead them in the right direction. That, they're at this point where they have to lose their life for nothing, I would say. And it also causes me to be a little scared, to know what will happen to other young men out there. So we, as youth advocates, or the ones that oversee our children, should do more, or be there for our young people, our boys, so that they can have a better life.
Um, from a from a legal perspective, I am concerned that we have jumped to race. I'm not saying that race may not have a factor, may not be playing some kind of role in this thing, but I don't think as yet we have enough evidence to be calling it a race-related crime. Certainly, I think there's enough evidence to come to the conclusion that there's some kind of hate involved because of the nature of the wounds on the bodies of the two Henry boys. But I'm very concerned that um, we're having a race discussion. Two boys have died brutally, and we don't know as yet what occurred. We have absolutely no evidence of what happened. We know that they left to go and pick coconuts. We don't know if they were picking coconuts in the field where the police allegedly found tools and all of that. We don't know that those tools that were found there were their tools. We don't know as yet that what appeared to be blood was blood and did in fact belong to those boys. I mean, all of these are circumstantial, and certainly they have a certain slant, but we do not have enough as yet to be shouting and carrying on about Black Lives Matter and all of that. All lives matter. And I'm not trying to be insensitive to the Black Lives Matter movement at all. I'm saying that there is not enough as yet for us to make these conclusions. And I think because we have jumped off the gun and we're heading in that direction, it's not good for the country. And tempers are flaring and people are emotional at this time about the death and how it occurred. And then when you add race to that now, we go down a road that we really don't want to go to head down. And I think that's probably what has caused the death of the Harish boy. And we're seeing all these protests in all the various parts of the country. And I think we need to stop, take a breath, remember where we started. 2 children have died, and they've died brutally. Let's focus on that for right now. Those are my 2 cents.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Hall. You know, it's a very what should I say? It's a fragile, it's a sensitive issue, and we have so many perspectives and so many views coming. We have persons who are angry, who are protesting, rioting, and you know they're using violence, and they're using that to define justice, and which we all know is the wrong thing. However, at a national and a community level, what can we do, right, to push for or to appeal for calmness or peace? How can we reach the grassroots people to say, well, you know, let us try a different approach to this? Anyone?
Okay, so I believe that in all of this, everyone is emotional. Everyone is at a sensitive point right now. I feel that I really do feel that everyone feels for these young men. And given a time where, I mean, we are also dealing with COVID and we're dealing with post elections and all that, Guyana has a lot happening. And I think everybody's emotions are sky high. And I think everybody's feeling everything 10 times more than normal at this particular time within Guyana. And that is within everybody's right. Everybody's human. It's good to feel. It's good to express how you feel, and it's good to channel your frustrations and let them out. But I think what is most important that we need to understand as a nation is that there is no cookie cutter way that we as individuals or we as a particular race or any particular race should expect another race or another human to express their feelings. There's no cookie cutter way. And so everybody should be allowed to express themselves how they choose to within the laws of the country, within human rights, within looking out for each other, within the purpose of you as a human being. Um, Humanity has to prevail, and I feel like we're at a point where we've seen a lot of inhumane things, and we don't need to get there. We don't need to get there. I really do feel like these boys, had they been here, this is not what they would have condoned. This is not what they would have wanted for any of their family members that probably would have suffered the way they did. And so I think we need to respect that. I think we need to respect the family. In terms of what we can do in communities, I feel that while we may want to have a discussion and advocate that, oh, we should do this for our young people, it is the adults who are harming our young people. And I feel we have to have a national discussion about um, the adults and what they're doing and the way they culture children and the way they go through parenthood and things like that. I think that is very, very important. I feel that our adults are responsible for protecting our children. And I feel like Harish and Isaiah and Joel, they may have simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time. And at the end of the day, we as adults have to ensure that our children are protected. A lot of times our children suffer because of us. And I think that's a discussion we need to have. I mean, yes, we need to uplift our young men and all of that, but I think we also need to remember that it is adults that are causing the harm and the death and the gruesome death of our young people, as seen within the past few days.
Mm-hmm. Anyone
Um,
else? Mhm. Yes,
All
Miss
right,
Hawk, I'm
so
listening. Sorry.
yes, I just wanted to say, this is not who we are. This is not who we are. This is not the country that I grew up in. We don't do this. We don't fight and kill each other. Honestly, they've always been racial undertones. We all know that. But we've never, ever been here before. And so I think we need to step back and we need to remember what our motto is. We are one people, one nation, with one destiny. We are truly a loving people. Certainly there are persons who would like to um, advocate racism, or if not advocate it, there are certainly racial elements among us, but the majority of us, this is not who we are. And so I think we need to take a stand. It begins with us individually. Yes, we can look to the politicians and we can have as many discussions as we want to have. But I think it behoves us individually to stop and think for yourself. Look at the circumstances and say, is this really what everyone is saying it is? And how am I coming to this conclusion? And what does this really mean for me? What does this mean for my family, my brothers, my sisters, my children, my friends? We are a country of 6 races. We all have friends among the races. I don't have only Black friends. I have Indian friends, I have Amerindian friends, Chinese friends. This is who we are. And so I think we need to take a breath, stop, reassess our own mindset in this whole situation. It begins with us. It begins with you individually. How are you thinking? And what do you want moving forward? And after we have done that, then we can call on our leaders to take a stand, to come out and foster unity among us. Stop fighting. I would like to ask the politicians to stop fighting. This is not a time for us to fight. This is not a time for us to cast blame. It's your fault. You said this, you did this. We all need to stop. It has to stop. That's the only way we can move forward. None of us want this. I can't honestly say that I have identified any person that has come out and have made statements about this situation. I can't say that I have come to any conclusion that, okay, this person wants this that's happening here. None of us want this. We don't want this for our country. We want to live in love and unity. And whatever it takes on our part individually for us to achieve that, I think that's where it needs to start. That's why I agreed to come today, because I've been having my own little conversations among my colleagues and my friends and so on. But I think it's time for me to add my voice to this discussion and to say, let us come together. Let us come together in love and unity. What happened to those boys? All three of them is heart wrenching. It's heart wrenching. And let's stop and recognize that and focus on that and ask for justice for them. All of the other issues, all of the other surrounding issues are tangential. We can have discussions about those issues at another time. But let's bring the country together. Let's advocate for peace and unity.
Ms. King?
Yes, I agree with my fellow panelists today. And I believe that each of us as individual has a role to play in the call for peace and justice. You know, sometimes we are misguided by the perceptions and, you know, the things that are in the media by whether it's politicians or our parents or leaders, whoever it may be. And I think we need to find out the details for ourselves and, you know, be able to, you know, rationally or logically discuss, iron out, work out the details and know what is factual and what is not. So that, you know, we can make decisions that are within those factual, you know, pointers. And I believe that we should, you know, be the change that we want to see. If we want peace to reign within our nation, we shouldn't be, you know, posting things or, you know, sharing stuff that can start up a riot. I think that we all have a role to play in this, whether we're in a group, within our families, and I believe that having open discussions on the issue would aid in helping us, you know, to rationally work out the details so that we can make decisions and choices and share things within the media or do things that we, you know, would advocate for justice rather than, you know, causing disruptions within our society. And I believe there's this quote that says, "Be the change you want to see in the world." And each of us, if we individually be that change that we want to see, we see racism spurring up, we see, you know, crime and violence spurring up. What are we doing as an individual within our community, within our space, the places that we have influence in, to, you know, prevent these things from happening? So my call today would be for us, you know, in seeking justice, let us do so diligently. Let us do so with discipline and respect for each other, and ensure that, you know, love prevails in every situation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. At this time, once again, I'm going to say it's sensitive. And if you should really traverse or scroll through social media, you see some of the most outrageous posts. And it's hurtful to know that these are posts that are made by adults, you know, persons also in you know, offices who we expect to to know better or to do better, especially at a time like this. Like Ms. Hawk would have rightfully said, and as a country, we are one people, one nation, one destiny. And when things become hard for one of us, it should become hard for all of us, or it becomes hard for one of us, we should be there to lend support to the other. And in a time like this, we should not look for our differences or try to identify the things that make us different, but rather we should look for the things that make us one, the things that we have in common, the things that contribute to loving and hospitable Guyana. I know about, you know, going to the Caribbean and hearing persons say that Guyana is one of the most hospitable countries that you can come to, where everybody and it's united, where everyone live as one. And we need to resonate with that. We need to remain that Guyana, and we need to not let our anger in some instances, you know, get the best of us. And I don't know if you guys can give us some suggestion on what directly can community leaders do at this time in all of the villages that we have the riots, and even in the villages that are and the communities and towns that they're looking on. Because I heard a group of young men yesterday again having a conversation about what transpired. You know, what would you urge community leaders to do at this time? Miss Hawk, you wanna go first?
Yes, I think community leaders need to get down on the ground, go and talk to the people, um, listen to them. As Randy rightly said, everyone has the right to feel the way they're feeling. People are emotional, people are upset. It's upsetting what happened to those boys. And so we can't for 1 minute stop people from expressing their emotions. But they have to understand, we all have to understand that though we have the right to express ourselves and to protest and to feel the way we're feeling, we must do so respectfully. We must not allow ourselves to descend into chaos and anarchy and criminal activity. And I think if we really look at it, you will find that those among us, the criminal elements among us that are trying to change the face of this movement, they're very few, very few. Most of us, we just want to see justice for these boys. And so the community leaders need to get out into the community, and we need to do so as a unit. We can't be saying different things. That's one. We must have one voice. And let's show the people that we are capable of putting aside our political differences, putting aside every other thing that has nothing to do with justice for these boys. We can put those aside. Yes, we can. It's okay for us to disagree. We can disagree on issues, but on this one, we agree. We want justice. We want peace. We want unity. And so let's hold hands. Let's get out there and do what we have to do. That's why I was saying earlier that it would be so nice, wouldn't it, for the politicians to stop quarreling. It would be so nice for them to stop casting blame at each other back and forth. That wouldn't change our political persuasion. We are who we are. Who is PPP, who is APNU AFC, who is ANOG. We are who we are. But we need to see justice for these boys. We are saddened and sickened by what has occurred, all of us, regardless of our political persuasion. So let's focus on that. Focus on what we agree on. And let's agree. Let us agree. And let's allow the people, allow them to protest peacefully and call for justice. Don't let's swing the protest any way that we wish. Let's call for justice as one people, one nation with one destiny. It would be so nice, I think, if we can join hands across the aisle. Perhaps it's wishful thinking on my part, but it's something that I would really like to see. Let's come out. I call on all the political parties, all of them. I call on the PPPC, APNU, AFC, ANOG, all of the small parties. Come on, come out and condemn what's happening. Come out, let's unify and let's with one voice express our emotions on this issue over what has happened to these boys, and let's bring the country together. It's time for the country to heal. We need healing at this time, desperately. It's not looking good. We're not looking good. Our image is taking a battering right now in the eyes of the international community. This is not who we are. And I'm really calling on everyone who has a voice, everyone who can make a difference in this conversation, in this issue, to come out and make that difference now. We don't want this to get worse.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else?
Um,
Yes, I
Go ahead.
yes, I fully support Miss. I didn't get her name right. I think Miss Hawk. I definitely believe that youth leaders or generally leaders have a very, important role to play at this time. And we, and even the community leaders, politicians, whoever are out there leading, the different demonstration, leading the conversation, have a role to play in influencing what happens in this time. And I think as leaders, we should be open and honest. Leaders out there, they should be open and honest. They should, as much as possible. I know we all have emotions. We want to get it out. Stay a bit calm, because whatever tone you set as the leader, you're setting for the others who are, following under your wing. And I believe having communication, as Ms. Hawk would have mentioned, communicating, going and visit families who, who might be grieving at this time, talking to persons who are out there, even our protesters, giving the right information, the information that will help to influence justice, not, to cause further violence and crime. And leading them in the right direction so that justice can be served. If we're calling for peace, let us also demonstrate that peace that we're calling for. And you know being able to help guide those out there. Like I heard that they were looting and violence happening a lot within the last 2 days. And where are the leaders in these situations? How are they influencing those people who who are doing these destructive things? And I would like to say that our leaders have a pivotal role at this time, in causing change and effecting change in the right direction, so that justice can be served. We all have a voice, and whatever we're using that voice for to influence, within our society, we should use it to influence with love, promote our motto: one people, one nation, one destiny. Help, peace and love to prevail within our nation, and call for justice to be served. We know that we all want justice in this situation, and we all want to see things go back, well, not necessarily go back, but there be some amount of calmness and normalcy at this time. We have so much going on, and I think leaders have that pivotal role in causing or effecting change in this situation at this time.
Thank you.
Um,
Randy?
I do believe that there are some key things that some of you touched. I do believe that our leaders need to definitely come out and listen. I think that's the key thing Ms. Hawk would have mentioned. They need to listen and listen to the people. The people want to be heard, and that's what's happening right now. The people want to be heard. They want to be heard. That every mother feels scared and worried for her son and her kids, and every parent is worried for the children and their boy children, and the ones who have to travel and go to school, and the ones who have to get things done. And everybody is at a point where there's a lot of fear in the society. I also believe that while our leaders need to come out and listen, we the people have a responsibility to ensure that these people are allowed to do their jobs. They cannot do their jobs. You cannot call on them to do their jobs if you're not allowing them to do their jobs. It is important that if you decide to protest, if you decide to start a movement, if you decide to make your voice louder, it is important that you do that while ensuring the safety of others. And leaders, there's only so much leaders can do. Leaders can stand and they can talk and they could listen to the community, and the community has to listen to the leaders as well. And at the end of the day, it is a collective effort. It is a collective effort, because a team of 5 leaders can stand and say X, Y, Z. But when you have thousands of people standing for something, there needs to be some sort of agreement, some sort of communication, and stay within, the laws of Guyana, and stay within the rights of each other. I'm not saying it's wrong to protest. I'm not saying it's wrong to lift your voice. I'm not saying it's wrong to go stand and bring awareness about what happens or to be upset about it. But we need to do so while at the same time not harming each other, not harming our leaders, not harming the men in our armed forces who are trying to get the investigations done and get all the details together, get all the work done, truly bring justice for these boys. Um, I think the key thing, as I said, is to really listen to each other and understand each other and know that, listen, we're going to act, we're going to make our voices heard, but we're going to at the same time ensure that we respect each of our rights. And that's what's important at this time.
Yes, guys, my apologies. I went there for a moment. Yes, and so it is crucial that community leaders now come out, and take the initiative to speak to the people, because I believe that communication is essential at every level. It starts within the home, within the families. We teach you to communicate with your children. That way, you create a platform for a healthy, flourishing relationship. Then you apply that to your intimate relationships, and then and it goes along and it grows and it grows, and then it comes to the community level where you become a leader. You understand the importance of reaching out to the grassroots people, getting to them and speaking to them on issues that they're affected by. Come on, let us sit, let us wait, let us see what is going to happen. Now, we're not speaking only of political leaders, but we're speaking about faith-based leaders, churches, mosques, temples. We're speaking about persons who may hold an influential position within the community. Maybe you just do charitable work, reach out to the people, speak to them, let them know that we're going to wait to see how justice will prevail. We're going to wait to see what is happening. And it is important that we take these essential steps because it sets the ground for how our children will react, providing that they encounter these same challenges or difficulties. We need to remember as Guyanese, everyone I'm speaking to at this point, in office, the people at the grassroots level, the leaders, everyone, the children are looking on. Every victim, every victim of the crimes that were committed are children, 18, 17, and 19-year-old young men. Harish Singh, Joel Henry, and Isaiah Henry did not deserve to die the way they died. It's very heart-wrenching, it's very gruesome and cruel. But at the same time, to ensure justice, we must first maintain the peace and see how things will progress. See what is happening. Keep the authorities on their toes. But we are not going into the streets and riot, because that is not what is right. Justice is not violent. Justice will prevail. We just need to sit, look on, and see what is happening. The persons who are responsible for this, we know we want them to be held accountable, but by burning in the streets and rioting, that will not, or hurting other people, that will not ensure that they're held accountable. It's very sad. It gives me goosebumps every time I think of the persons who are more affected by what is happening than anyone else. And it's sad to say that it is our children. They're dying. They're afraid. They're asking their parents the difficult questions. They are looking at what we as adults are doing. Some of them have access to the internet and they're seeing what we are posting, and it is shaping their perception. So we must be careful. We don't have much time remaining, but I want us to briefly touch on how can we do better for our boys. There are a lot of young men out there who are misled, misguided. There are a lot of young men out there who are in harm's way. And we're not saying that because of the incidents in the court and because of what happened to Harish, Joel, and Isaiah, that it is on the part of their families or the parents or anything. But we just want to ensure that we discuss safeguarding our boys who deserve to be pampered and loved. What more do you think we need to do to ensure that our boys are safe, and secure.
I think as growing up as a young boy, and I think a lot of time there is there's a pressure on young boys. There's a pressure on boys and young men that you have to act a certain way, do a certain thing, be a certain way. And part of that stereotype is to be somewhat not emotional, to somewhat not have as much feelings as a female should have. And I think our young men are hurting. I think our young men have a lot to say. I think our young men are feeling a lot, and not just within their direct relationships with their family at home or their friends or what's not, but I think that the pressures of society and the box that we have put them to be in, they're not allowed to truly express themselves. And I think that it needs to start with that. I think if they can express themselves, we know what they need, we know what needs to be done, we know how we can appeal to them and how we can make efforts to truly impact them, because we can make all the efforts that we want. But if we truly don't know what our young men need, if we truly don't allow them to express what they need, then we don't know. And I think part of that is we need to allow them to truly channel their emotions. And I mean, I think families need to be more open to listening to their young men and engaging them in conversations. A lot of time we want to talk about our young women, and we sit as parents and we talk mostly with our young women, and we allow our young men to go hang out and so on. And we don't sit and have the same or similar conversations that are relative to young men with our young men. And so I think our young men, they're left behind. And it is important that we understand that whether you're a man or a woman, you're human. And we all have needs. And I think we need to start having more conversations within families with our young men and how they're growing up and how are they and how are their mental health and that sort of thing. I think that's how we can start.
Thank you.
I agree. I agree with Randy 100%. In fact, it's what I wanted to say. Um, yes, I think we need to start having conversations. I'm not sure we're having conversations with our boys. And as Randy said, in order for us to have the conversation, we need to allow them to express themselves. We need to ask questions. We need to ask them, how are you feeling? Because very often as a youth leader myself, way back, I could recall young men complaining that, nobody's listening to us. Nobody wants to hear what we have to say. They shut us down. They don't allow us to express our emotions. And even when we are allowed to express our emotions, there's an expectation that it will be expressed in a certain way. We're not allowed to cry. We're not allowed to complain. We're not allowed to say that we're tired. We're not allowed to feel weak. It's okay. It's okay. That's what we need to start saying to our boys. It's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel emotional about something. It's okay to say that you don't feel well, that you're tired, that you feel as if you can't make it, you can't carry on. And then we need to listen. And when we listen, then we can have the conversations that we need to have that's geared towards mental health, strengthening their mental health. I think there might be a lot of young men in our society who are depressed. But we don't even want to have the conversations about mental health. Mental health is taboo still in our country. If you're having an emotional breakdown, somehow you're weak or you're crazy. And so I think boys, they keep everything inside. They bottle it up. And then when it finally bursts out, it comes out in a way that is not productive. And it's almost as if society expects this. We expect men to blow up. We expect men to walk away. We expect men to shut up. not speak, not say anything, not have conversations. And so our young boys grow up. They grow up thinking that they are supposed to be macho. And then they get married and they carry these same attitudes into their marriages. They don't speak to their wives. They don't tell them their wives when they're feeling tired, when they feel as if they're scared. They don't say, honey, I don't know what we're going to do. Do you have any ideas? Because the expectation is that they ought to know. They ought to do everything on their own. And so it's a cycle. It keeps going wrong and wrong. And then let me say also, fathers need to speak to their sons. Very often it's the mother who sits down and will have these conversations. She will have them with her daughters, and the daughters cry and they're comforted and they move on. You know, in the home, when it comes to mental health, the girls are taken care of always. They get a hug, they get kisses, they're told it's okay, baby, you can cry, you can express yourself. It's okay. And then they go away feeling much better. But we expect our boys to bottle it up. And then in those homes where the mothers do try and they speak to their sons and they allow their sons to express themselves, there is still, I think, a shortfall there. Because I think the same-sex parent has that responsibility to impart things that the parent of the other sex just can't. It's okay for a boy to see his father in a moment of weakness, because then he grows up knowing that, oh, I can feel tired sometimes. I can feel weak sometimes. But then he sees his father rise up and he sees his father keep going and carrying on. And he said, you know what? I can still make it. I can make it. And so I think the conversation just doesn't need to happen in the home, but it needs to happen in a certain way. Fathers need to step up and start speaking to their sons. Take your son on a date. Yes, take your son on a date. Take him to buy ice cream. Take him to the mall. Take him to the cinema. Take him out. Sit down, have a conversation with him. Ask him, how are you doing, son? How are you feeling? How are you feeling about school? Are you feeling pressured by the work? You know, how is your teacher treating you? How is your relationship with your friends? And we need to have these conversations. Fathers need to impart into the lives of their sons. And we need to keep listening to our children. They have rights. They have a voice. We can't shut them down. You know, we say, shut up. You talk too much. You always want to be in big people conversation. That's how traditionally we handle these things, but I think we need to stop. That's not working. That's not working for us. We need to allow the children to express themselves, boys and girls, but particularly boys, because I think we're losing our boys on the curves. We have them when we're on the street. They're there with us. They're going.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute there's a turn, we begin to lose them because
Yes.
we don't know how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what's happening with them emotionally.
Yes.
And we haven't allowed ourselves to really build them mentally the right way, not by shutting them down and shutting them up and telling them that you have to be tough. You're a boy. Don't cry.
Mhm.
You can't cry. You're not allowed to cry about an issue. No, that's not the right way. So let us sit and I'm a parent myself, and I would like to encourage parents to start having conversations with your children. Fathers, I call on you to sit with your sons. As Randy said, he spoke so passionately. He knows well because he is a young man himself. And so listen to the boys. They have things to say. And let's see an emergence of our young men once again in our society.
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Hawk. So I'm going to ask you, Ms. King, to just briefly give me your remarks with regards to what we need to do more to care for boys.
All right. So I definitely agree with my fellow colleagues on that communication and listening is a definite factor that will play a role in safeguarding our boys. Once our boys feel connected to family, to friends, to the community as a whole, I think they will feel a sense of belonging, and it will provide opportunities for them, to learn new things, to get along with others, and they will have people that they can go to when they need help. That's a thing I definitely know. Sometimes it's very hard for young men to go to people when they need help. So we have to provide the avenue for them to, to get that opportunity to go to people that they can trust, that they can, that they know will listen to them and, give them the advice that is necessary in that time. And I believe providing a network where they can use to learn about, jobs, about skills and these kinds of things. We all, in many communities, there are community groups, and I believe that these groups can, be that network that can provide, knowledge that can help them to, go decide on their career path, help them, to learn a skill and things like that. So I believe, strong social connection can boost a child's confidence and, definitely help them, to be cared for within our society.
Yes. Yes, thank you so much. And I'm so sorry for rushing you.
No
But
problem.
guys, I really enjoyed this conversation and I really do look forward for this exact panel to discuss more caring for boys. And so once again, thank you for joining me. And to the persons who are looking at this live, we want to say thank you for tuning in. Remember to share. Until next time, I'm your moderator, Shaquita. Bye.